Dans un instant, on fait une petite expérience.
Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kat and I make videos about books, writing and other random things living rent-free in my neurodivergent brain. Today we're doing a monthly review. This is something I started doing last month and that was inspired by Mariandrea from the Books and Book Ideas channel, where she does a weekly review of her highs, lows, the things she's been reading, her favorite podcast of the moment, a community shout out, all those kind of things. And I really enjoyed her format. For me, weekly would be a bit too intense, but I quite like having that monthly look back into the month that just passed and seeing, okay, what happened, what were the things that kind of made my month, how am I doing on my reading, on my writing, all those kind of good stuff. So without further ado, let's look back at July. In my previous review, I talked about how I wanted to design my summer, which is an expression from Gretchen Rubin, and basically the idea behind that is that summer is usually a bit of a different season in people's year compared to the other ones. People are usually off work, they take vacation, the weather is nice, we want to be outside. It just has a different feel compared to the rest of the year. And so I wanted to use that concept of design your summer to determine things that I wanted to do during those summery months to make the most of that time of the year. The first thing on my list was to enjoy my garden more. And so for that, I need to be in my garden more, basically, but I also need to make sure that it's an enjoyable place to be. So there was a little bit of a maintenance kind of component to that part. I think I did succeed in enjoying my garden more than usual. I've recently purchased this hammock chair, which I really love, and I have it under the tree in front of the house, and it's just a delight to sit there and read and just enjoy the warm weather. That being said, I don't think I did it as much as I could have, partly because we've had a heat wave here in the south of France, I think in the whole country, but it's been quite warm for a few days, which is just too much for me, so I didn't go out during that time. Also, our dog has been a bit sick, so the garden is slightly like a minefield at the moment, so obviously I'm not enjoying it as much because I need to watch where I'm stepping. And I didn't do as much maintenance as I would have liked out of tiredness, a bit of laziness, procrastination. We have a small vegetable garden which I need to give more attention to. So yeah, I could do a better job at that. Although again, I think it was better than usual, but there's still things that I can do better. And the frustrating thing is, like, when I go into the garden and work in the garden and take care of the vegetables and all of that, I do really enjoy it. But there is a bit of a hurdle, like an obstacle for me to do that. I guess it's just like being in the right clothes, putting on the right shoes, putting some mosquito spray because otherwise I'm just going to be eaten alive if I go in the vegetable garden. So I think those things are putting some obstacles, and so the bar of entry is a bit too high at the moment. So I need to find ways to make that easier. So maybe something I can think about for August. The second thing I wanted to do to enjoy my summer was to explore my local area a bit more. I was already caveating this, saying that it's been something I've wanted to do for many years and that I'm still struggling to do, even though it's been an ongoing conversation with my husband for a long time. So we haven't really gone into the Pyrenees as I wanted. Some things happened that kind of derailed my plan, which is fine. I still would like to go to the mountains at some point, but I'm not sure when it's going to be feasible because I'm going to be out and about for a couple of weeks in August. But that being said, even though we haven't gone to the further areas or a bit further away from home, we've been taking our dog on walks in the small town where we live a bit more, and so kind of exploring that. There's still parts of it that we haven't been to and that we don't know very well. Like it's fairly small, at least like the part with the shops and like where there's a bit of activity is very, very small, and that's usually where we end up going. But so with those walks, we've tried kind of branching out a little bit and exploring the area. So kind of a half situation. Next, I wanted to please my senses. So that was again back to an idea from Gretchen Rubin, who talked about designing a 5 senses portrait of summer. And so kind of looking at taste that would evoke summer, smells that would bring that summery feeling, all of that. So I'm kind of looking at the different senses and seeing how you can enhance your experience of summer through your senses. I think I've done that quite a bit. I've eaten reasonably some ice creams that I've really savored and enjoyed. I'm making a point of appreciating the views of summer. Like there is, again, in the small town where we live, there is a square which has 6 albizia trees, which I found absolutely gorgeous. They're all in bloom at the moment and it's just gorgeous. It's really a matter of just enjoying the small things in our day-to-day lives, and I think I've been doing that quite a bit, and it's something that I do in every season, not necessarily in summer, but I've been a little bit more intentional with it. Yeah, it's bringing me lots of little daily pleasures. Next, I said I wanted to fall back in love with reading, and I think it's been going well. There's always like a bit ups and downs, but I've had moments in the month where I was reading a book and making progress and I was just feeling so happy about it. So I want to keep going on that trend, and I'm quite happy with the reading months I've had in terms of the amount of book I managed to get to. Like it's not a numbers game for me. Like I don't want necessarily to read as many books as possible, but at the same time, it's easy for me and probably too easy to just not read and let that fall by the wayside. So I need to push myself a little bit to be more consistent, and so putting some goals while at the same time not putting too much pressure on myself is helping. So it's kind of finding that balance, and I think it worked quite well this month. I'll do a separate videos talking about the books that I've read this month, because otherwise this one is going to be an hour long. I also wanted to go to at least one fun fair or rent fair this month, and so I accomplished that, which I'm very happy about. I went to the Montage Festival, which is a medieval festival happening over 2 or 3 days in, again, like a small town not too far away from where we live, where there is like an old castle ruin and all of that. We had a really great time and enjoyed some shows and walking around and all of that. The weather was quite sunny, but not too warm. Like it was manageable, even though I was quite happy that we had the sunscreen with us.
fait un point. Puissance. Action, le centimètre carré au niveau des serres.
I also went to a one-day kind of medieval festival in the city that's near where we live. It wasn't as good. I was a bit disappointed that it was supposed to be like a market with some shows and activities. The medieval market was half not medieval. Like there was someone selling like cigarette cases and beauty products and stuff like that. So yeah, the quality was not like, or the theme was not really respected. We went at a time where it was to be like a fire show and we couldn't find it. Like, and it's not that big. Like the area that was dedicated to it was very small, so it looked like it actually didn't happen. And so there's also a castle there, and we were expecting that some of the festivities would happen in the castle, on the castle's ground, but it didn't. It was just outside, and so it was very packed. It was weird because at the same time it was very small and at the same time very packed, so it didn't feel very well organized. So that was a bit of a disappointment. I'm still glad that I went and see what it was like, because otherwise I would have had FOMO. But yeah, definitely the Montagne one was much better. And then finally, for Design My Summer, I said I wanted to have a summer of Taylor Swift, because I'm gonna go to London in August to see the Eras Tour, which I'm very excited about. So I spent a good amount of time listening to Taylor Swift this month, which was really nice. And I just created like this Eras Tour setlist playlist for me to listen to. And yeah, I'm discovering new favorites, which has been really cool. And now I'm contemplating getting some pearls and like bracelet kits so that I can make some for the concert, but we'll see. Now moving on into my highs and lows of the month. As I mentioned in a previous video, I recently moved into my office, so I'm quite excited about that. It took a bit of time to kind of renovate that room. It was a matter of taking the wallpaper out and just like making the walls ready for the paint and then painting, and like there's still quite a bit of work to do in there, and it's still quite empty, so the sound would be very echoey, which is why I'm not filming there yet, but I'll definitely show it to you when it's a bit more finalized. But so even though it's not fully finished now, it's been quite nice to see the progress that has been made there and being able to move my desk there and start working from there. Otherwise, as I mentioned, I've had moments where I've been really enjoying reading again and feeling that it was making me very happy, which is a very nice feeling. And same, recently I posted the international booktuber tag where I talk about the languages that I speak and things like that, and the conversations in the comments have been very lovely and got me super excited about languages again. It's something I've been passionate about for many years, but I go in and out of phases where I'm very into languages, and I'm feeling like now I'm getting back into it and getting very excited and wanting to practice. I got back a little bit into practicing my Swedish a bit more actively, or not really actively, but basically I just started watching a Netflix show in Swedish and I just binged the whole thing in one day. It was only 6 episodes, but still. But yeah, I watched it in Swedish with Swedish subtitles, and that was very satisfying. I started another one, Young Royals. I've just watched the first episode and it's not grabbing me in the same way, but I think if I can watch one episode every day or every other day, that could be a good rhythm. Yeah, I just find practicing languages a lot of fun. I need to see if I'm gonna dive back into a newer language or if I'm just gonna try to refresh the ones that I already speak. But there was this videos from Days and Words, I think the channel is called, where he's been studying Swedish for many years and he's finally in the country, and he describes how it doesn't even feel real, or just that the image that he had of Sweden like really matches his experience to the point that like it's a bit of a surreal experience, and it's really hard to describe, but I can really understand, and that was really moving. So yeah, again, that also got me excited about just the power of languages and how satisfying it can be. I think I fell out of it at some point because I had a bit of a why bother feeling of just like, I'm back living in France now, my job is just in English, because I used to work as a translator, so I was also kind of compelled to learn more languages, even though I was not necessarily going to reach a level from which I would be able to translate, but there was still that kind of incentive, and I felt like I had a more multilingual kind of life. And so now I'm a bit like, what's the point? I don't have many people to speak with or opportunities to really practice, like to really embed in my life on a daily basis. And so I kind of felt a bit defeated, but then watching this video from Days and Words really reminded me of how joyful it can be to learn a language when you get to use it and you go in the country, or even in your own country, like meeting someone who speaks that language and being able to have that conversation with them. It can be just so satisfying that, yeah, again, that got me excited, and I'm kind of slowly getting back into it. Otherwise, it's just been a mix of small things, as I mentioned, kind of daily joys. We had the Tour de France actually pass very, very close to where we lived, so we went to see them pass. It was super short. I didn't expect it to be that short, but yeah, it was fun. There hasn't been anything extraordinary this month, something kind of really breaking the day-to-day, like I didn't do any travel or things like that, but it's been a quiet month, I would say. In terms of vlogs, there have been quite a few this month. Overall, I just felt that I was struggling a bit more with my mental health. I'm still very much feeling some symptoms or like some consequences of my burnout, even though it's been more than 6 months ago now. I'm still battling with it and I'm not completely out of it. So there has been moments at work that have been a bit difficult, even though overall things are looking better. It's still not perfect, but yeah, my team has been struggling quite a bit, so that has been tough. Otherwise, as I mentioned, Alfred has been a bit unwell this month, so we're trying a new treatment, but that has like side effects that also need to be handled and all of that. So he's just like a very senior dog, so that is to be expected, and he always had kind of arthritis and like difficulty with his mobility, but obviously as he's getting older, it's just not going in the right direction. So we're doing the best that we can to give him the best life possible and make sure that he's not in pain, or at least like minimize it as much as possible, so that he's still a happy dog for as long as possible. In terms of a bit of like random things, one favorite from this month was the docu-series from Netflix on the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. I'm surprised how much I enjoyed this. I decided to watch it because doing YouTube and kind of talking about books, I realized that I do really love stories or content about people who are very good at their craft. And so obviously those women in that cheerleader team are just extraordinary at what they do. And so I just decided to give it a go and watch it, and I loved the documentary. I think it was so compelling. Those women are just incredible. Like, they look like models and they are full-blown athletes doing incredible things. They're dancing, they're performing, and they're just so talented. And so seeing kind of the journey, like all the auditions and the hard work that gets them there was really cool. And then you see like the season unfold and how things are working, and just like the level of training and the minutiae, like the attention to detail is quite astonishing. So it was a very, very fun documentary to watch. Like, I think it's maybe 8 episodes or something. And yeah, it was really fun and really exciting. Like, the first time you see them perform like their iconic dance on that iconic song from AC/DC was just like giving me chills and it got me very excited. So that was one favorite from this month, and a surprising one. Next, I wanted to include like a community shout out. So this month, Mariandrea from, again, Books and Bocadillos is doing YA August, during which she basically is reading coming of age stories. That's something she loves to do during the summer. And so she created a little bingo card for herself, and she decided to share it with people on YouTube if anyone wants to join. So I will include the information in the description below in case you're interested. Okay, now moving on to the meaty part of that review, which is about books, obviously. So from what you might have seen from previous videos, including my June review, I have this goal of creating my bookshelf, and I need to move some books around as well to start reorganizing the room in which I used to have my office, which is now going to be a kind of hobby workshop for me and my husband. So we need to do some reorganizing, and I want to take the opportunity to declutter a bit my bookshelves and make sure that the books that I have with me at home are books that I'm still excited to read, or if I've already read them, like books that I still want to keep because they have some kind of value, because I want to reread them, or that kind of things. So I did one shelf this month and I unhauled 4 books, which is quite good. But yeah, I didn't make any progress since that video, so I'm hoping in August to do a little bit more, and I think depending on how long it takes, I might give updates as I go in those monthly reviews. So for this month, I did 1 shelf and I unhauled 4 books. I've also been talking about how I want to limit the number of books that I'm buying, and that's for a number of reasons. First, it costs money to buy books, it takes space to keep them and store them, and also, I don't know, like for a while I've been struggling to find new absolute favorites, like books that are kind of rocking my world and that I get super excited about. And so I've also become much better at unhauling books that I didn't enjoy, or that even though I enjoy, I might not feel like I need to keep physically in my life anymore. And so I'm kind of releasing them to other readers to enjoy them. But the fact again that so many books that I've bought recently I have not truly enjoyed or have not been wanting to keep makes me think that I should really reduce the amount of books I write, because again, if I'm not gonna keep them, like, is there another way that I can enjoy them without all the all the work of just like the money spent on getting them, like because I read a lot in English, I also need to order them from abroad because there are not that many options where I live. So all of that, like if I can reduce that whole cost, I think it's going to be beneficial. So I'm trying to be more mindful about the books that I buy. And so I'm going to be reporting in this monthly review on how I'm doing, how many books I purchased. And the books that I purchase, I want to try to read as soon as possible so that they don't sit on my shelves for months, if not years, before I get to them and then just kind of lose interest. So it's kind of a new challenge for me and it's going to be interesting. But so yeah, I'm trying to decide that when I'm buying a book, I'm buying it when I'm going to read it, or like very soon after that. Basically what I want to do is that if I'm purchasing a book, it's because I intend to read it right away or very soon. I think having that rule in place will help me, again, be more intentional with the books that I buy and avoid me buying tons of books that I'm not ended up reading. I think the danger territory or the exception is likely when I'm traveling, because I might encounter books that are harder to find online or something like that, or then I'm just kind of wanting to have that as a memento from the trip. So we will see how I do on travels, but hopefully I can still keep that rule running most of the time. And so this month I ended up purchasing 6 books, but 2 were audiobooks, so at least I don't have that kind of storage issue. So the first one is Crying in Mart by Michelle Zauner. And I decided to purchase that because I had a quick exchange with Austin from Becoming a Bookworm about this book, and it just kind of came back on my radar. And it's a memoir from Michelle, obviously, who lost her mom and is trying to process her grief through returning to the food she used to cook with her mom. And it's supposed to be quite funny, so I think that mix of serious topic with humor could be quite exciting. And so just having this quick exchange with Austin made me want to read that book more and kind of bumped it up on my priority list. So because I had a remaining credit and I wanted to stop my subscription to Audible, I decided to get it. The next one is Empire of Imagination by Michael Witwer. And it is a biography about Gary Gygax, who is the inventor or like founder, creator of Dungeons and Dragons. And this one I already started listening, and so I'm gonna finish that during the month of August. The 4 physical books I purchased this month were Annie Bot by Sarah Greer, and I read this month. You can see my review in my upcoming monthly wrap-up. This is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Mohtar and Max Gladstone, also something that I read this month, so it will be in my monthly wrap-up. A Time to Dance by Padma, Venkatraman. I am gonna be buddy reading with Rochelle from Good Morning Dreamer in August, so I've just started that yesterday. I'm only just a few pages in, but this is something I'm gonna read in August. And then finally, Hello Beautiful by Napolitano, which I am gonna try to get to in August. We'll see if I can manage because I have some ambitious plans. And finally, the last part of this July review is about how my writing is going. I'm currently working on a fantasy adult or new adult novel, and my manuscript is currently sitting at 30,000 words. So I haven't really written this month in terms of word count, like I haven't written new scenes and things like that, but I did work on the outline, so trying to clarify the structure, where I want to go, kind of the different character arcs, the different threads of the story. So like it's the most complex story I've ever written, so it's a lot of work and I still have a lot to learn as I go. So I took this month, and I'm probably going to continue doing that as I progress with the manuscript anyway, but I took this time to really take a step back and try to, again, figure out the structure, making sure that I'm working in the right direction, because it's gonna make everything easier than just plowing through and writing whatever comes to mind, and then it's going a whole mess and it's gonna take forever to edit and fix. So I'm trying to make things easier for myself. It's been challenging, but it's also been quite a lot of fun. And so I've paired that outlining work with reading Save the Cat, which is a book about writing and story structure, and some of Brendan Sanderson conferences or lectures on YouTube about writing fantasy and science fiction, and so all those elements together have been really helping me making progress and making me again more excited about my story. And it's very satisfying seeing how different parts of the novel are kind of working well together and are gonna kind of interact in a dynamic way. It's hard to explain, but yeah, it's been going well, even though I didn't put kind of literal words to the page and didn't grow the word count. Also, last month I mentioned that I joined a writing group, so we meet every Tuesday morning for about 1 hour to kind of do some co-writing sessions, and I really enjoyed that. I continued doing that this month, and I even created a second group, so we're now meeting on Wednesdays. We are going to switch to Friday. You don't need the logistics, you don't care about that, but basically I have two virtual groups, and that might amount to 2 to 3 sessions a week, which is quite exciting. And it's been super helpful in keeping me accountable and making sure that I dedicate time to my writing. So I've really enjoyed that. And finally, I submitted my writing twice this month. So I sent an application for a grant, which I'm not expecting to get, but it's part of my internal work to show myself that I'm taking my writing seriously, and I'm putting it out there and I'm doing things. So it was a bit challenging because you had to write a kind of cover letter and project description and all that, and it felt in some ways very similar to a job application, and that kind of triggered some burnout flair. So that was a bit difficult, like getting the materials out, but I'm glad I did it anyway. And then the second thing is I just submitted a short extract of the novel I'm working on for a workshop at a writers festival I'm going to attend in August. So if it's selected, I would get some insights and feedback on the line level of that extract and of my writing. So that could be pretty cool. That's it for this monthly review. I hope you enjoyed it and that you had a good month yourself. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye. It was a matter of just like taking the paper roll, the paper roll, battling with it, and I'm still not, what was that?